Good
Today
evening.
we are here to listen to one of the greatest scholars that we have amidst us today. She is from Pune, Maharashtra, Dr. Bhagyalata Pataskar. She will be giving a lecture under Dr. P.S. Subramanya Sastry Centenary Endowment, instituted by his grandson, mainly Dr. P.N. Natarajan, former professor of mathematics in Ramakrishna Mission Vivekananda College, Mylapore. Dr. P.S. Subramanya Sastry was associated with our research institute for a long time. In fact, he was a multifaceted scholar. He was a professor of Sanskrit, but he was the first person to get PhD in Tamil from Madras University. And his PhD was on history of grammatical theories in Tamil in connection with Sanskrit grammar, which was very highly which was very highly appreciated by three well-known scholars from Europe and India. And he was well known in academic circles for his knowledge, for his contribution. Our research institute published some of his works. He was the first one to translate Tolkappiyam, the earliest Tamil literature in grammar, with Roman transliteration and translation, and our research institute was the first to publish it, even before Tamil Nadu government took any step. And he published one volume from Annamalai University, where he was working as the professor. And even from Annamalai University, he published History of Sanskrit Literature, History of Sanskrit Language, both written in chaste Tamil in those days, more than 50 years ago. And he translated Dhvanyaloka into chaste Tamil. Nobody has ever attempted that till now. And he has also written on Sangam literature and Vedic religion. The most important work by Dr. P.S. Subramanya Sastry is the translation of the entire Mahabhashya, which the Kuppuswamy Sastry Research Institute is fortunate to publish all the 14 volumes. When he was alive, he published 6 volumes. The text where he has referred to the commentary of Kayata and others wherever necessary, and he has given a wonderful translation in English, which nobody has ever done completely. I mean, madam should be knowing better. Professor S.G. Joshi also did, but I think it is not complete, I think. So,
no, it's not complete.
Yeah, Professor P.S. Subramanya Sastry completed the entire Mahabhashya with English translation, and he passed away after publishing 6 volumes, and the files, the transcript, the manuscripts were kept with him, and fortunately one of his sons gave it to us and we published it serially. Now all the 14 volumes are available and many scholars are purchasing it also. 14 volumes in the Mahabhashya with English translation. And what is interesting is he has prepared the 5 indices, different index, Paribhasha, and then word index, English words, Sanskrit words, and then Sutra index, all such things he has himself done. So our job was, restricted. But it was a wonderful experience for us to go through his writings, original writings, and then type it, do the proof correction, and it was, we learned a lot. And he has also written a lot of books in Tamil and Sanskrit. He was the recipient of many awards from Kanchi Paramacharya and many other academic as well as saintly people. And he had the advantage of having the traditional knowledge and also the modern research approach. And he was teaching in Annamalai University for a long time, and he passed away in Tiruvayyaru, the place well known where we have every year the celebration to mark the saint, great Saint Tyagaraja. So, Dr. P.S. Subramanya Shastri's contribution is immense to both Sanskrit as well as Tamil. And he was equally proficient in English also. And he was closely associated with Professor Kuppuswamy Shastri. He was his junior contemporary in the Annamalai University. And his works, when we read them, it speaks ample, they are ample testimony for his depth of knowledge. And this endowment has been instituted in his memory during his centenary year, and we have been conducting annual lectures under this endowment, mostly on Sanskrit grammar, sometimes on Dhvanyaloka, like that. And many stalwarts have given lectures. And this year we are fortunate to have Madam Dr. Bhagyalata Pataskar. Immediately she accepted our request. Dr. Bhagyalata Pataskar is a postgraduate in Sanskrit and linguistics. And also she is a PhD in grammar. She did under the great scholar S.D. Joshi, who was well known to Professor Raghavan as well as Dr. Janaki, who were the mainstay in our institute for a long time. And Dr. Bhagyalata Pataskar was previously employed from 1985 to 2000 at Savitri Bai Phule Vidyapit, Pune. And she was engaged in many research activities there. Later on, from 2000, she is associated with Vaidika Soch Samsthan, which comes under the Government of India under Adarsha Soch Samstha, Ideal Research Institution, and she is the director of the Research Institute, which itself speaks volume of her dedication and scholarship. And rarely we find such highly educated women. And she also has written many books on different aspects of Vedas and Sanskrit grammar, and she has edited around 16 to 20 books, and she has also successfully guided many PhD research scholars. And more than all these things, we had the opportunity to meet her personally at the Kuppuswamy Shastri Research Institute during our 70th or Bhimaratha Mahotsava, 70th anniversary, when she came here along with the Professor Gauri Maulikar and also I think Professor Ujjwal Jha, and she came here for presenting paper. Sunanda, yeah, she is unfortunately no more. And she presented a paper on environmental science from Vedic perspective. So her credentials are much, cannot be described in a brief introduction. And Dr. P.S. Subramanya Shastri, I think, would be blessing all of us for having Dr. Bhagyalata Pataskar today. And she has chosen a wonderful topic today, Ucharana Doshaha, opportunities of mispronunciation. So, in Sanskrit, or for that matter, in any language, pronunciation plays a very important role, and especially in Sanskrit, where even in basic grammar, they teach whatever you read or not, one should read grammar, because the second line says, Swajana Swajano Mahabhut Sakalam Shakalam Sakrit Sakrit. Therefore, we have to be very careful in pronouncing each and every syllable. And in fact, in the Vedas, we have even swaras. And in Mahabhashya, she should be much familiar. there is a statement where Mahabhashyakara Patanjali says, Yaha anudate udate anudattam karoti tasmai kandikopadhyah chapetikam dadati anyatvam karoshi iti. So, to that extent, the pronunciation and the swara plays such an important role in our Sanskrit. And also we know the story Indrashatrur Vardhasva and all such things, in Vedic literature, starting from Pratishakya, and then we have the phonetics or Shiksha as the one of the main Vedangas. So it's an important topic. I think in South we have not explored it much. So we are very happy and eagerly we are awaiting to listen to Professor Bhagyalatha Pataskar. Once again, we offer our respectful pranams, madam, to you, and we welcome you amidst us. And I welcome all the scholars who are assembled here. Thank you very much, and let us listen to the words of great knowledge from Dr. Bhagyalatha Pataskar. Over to Professor Bhagyalatha Pataskar.
I really feel blessed for this golden opportunity given to me to present my thoughts in regarding Pratishakyas in memory of this erudite scholar, great P.S. Subramanya Shastri. I dedicate this lecture to this Punyatma. With respect to all audience and Kannan sir, I will now start with my topic. Uchcharana dosha, instances of mispronunciation. The Shiksha and Pratishakya texts have meticulously dealt with the correct pronunciation. This is all to maintain the purity of Veda mantras. The tradition sincerely believes that the Vedas are not just a text to be recited, but these are the mantras that have some secret power. Correct pronunciation of the mantras activate them, and then they bring out the desired fruit. Once the issue of correct pronunciation comes into discussion, the entire matter takes the normative turn. Thus comes the topic of errors in pronunciation, that is Uchcharana doshas. The Rigveda Pratishakya, Paspashamnika of Vyakaran Mahabhashya, Shiksha text and other Pratishakyas also discuss this issue of errors in pronunciation, but it is the Rigveda Pratishakya is the first one to open this topic. This article deals with this issue very briefly as well as descriptively. At this stage of my study, I don't intend to examine them or judge them or compare them with modern studies. Let us start from Rigveda Pratishakya. It is Patala 14th of Rigveda Pratishakya elaborately deals with this topic. In the 13th Patala, the Rigveda Pratishakya describes the process of the articulation or generation of speech sound. Needless to say that only those speech sounds are considered that are used in Sanskrit language in general and in Vedic language in particular. This chapter lays the norms of pronunciation from following viewpoints. Wizard, the accents, points of articulation, the time duration required for articulation, the articulation of that particular sound, the efforts or the movements that take place at the time of the articulation, and the quantity of breath and resonance required for the pronunciation. Considering the examples and the opinions of the other scholars, the undertone of this 13th Patala is not only descriptive one, but certainly the prescriptive one. Violation of these norms creates the bad or condemnable pronunciation. In general, the faults take place due to the over-application of these norms or under-application or deviated application of these norms. Here is the list of these errors in pronunciation. Nirasta. This pronouncing ko at little front palace, like this. Front position of soft palate is the nirasta type of pronunciation. It is error, where particular sound is pronounced at some deviated point and with different mode of articulation than prescribed, then this error occurs. The ch and t class consonants and r are likely to get affected by this fault. Amarkosh defines this faulty pronunciation as nirastam tvaritoditam. Extra speedy articulation of the sound is nirasta fault. It goes without saying that these quickly uttered sounds intermingled in each other, so much so that they lose their distinct identity and finally the speech loses its clarity. Vyasa. Unequal expansion of the points of articulation creates this fault. For example, at the time of the pronunciation of t, like this, the larger portion of the tongue comes into contact with the larger portion of the gum behind or upper front teeth. In case of teethless speaker, which creates unclear pronunciation of this sound. This dosh is also referred to with another term, pratihara. Pidana. Undue constriction of the points of articulation creates this fault. Then this is known one. The pronunciation of the vowels is likely to get affected by these three faults mentioned above. There is possibility of these faults occurring in the pronunciation of the consonants of first four classes also. Ambukrutam, pronouncing with closed lips, would create this fault. Amarkosh defines it as ambukrutam cha sannishtivanam, speaking with saliva. Shunam, pronouncing with hollow mouth. Sandashta, extra lowering the lower jaw, creates this fault. This fault can be clearly noticed when one pronounces the guttural sounds. The vowels also get affected by this particular fault. Vikishta, drawing the jaws afar, creates this fault. It seems that, especially at the time of pronouncing the dental sounds, there is every possibility of such unwanted movement of jaws. Grasta. The grasta fault occurs when a root of tongue is tightly held up. Since the tongue movements are not free, the uttered sounds are almost merged into mouth cavity. Normally, the guttural sounds get affected by this fault. Anunasika. The sounds which are not supposed to be nasalized are uttered through nostrils along with the mouth. Then pronunciation is regarded as faulty one. Anyatha matra. The fault happens in case of the pronunciation of vowels when the extra time duration of 1, 2 or 3 matras is not properly maintained. The Pratishakhya observation is that normally a short vowel followed by an anuswar is unnecessarily lengthened. There is a fault when the quantity of nasalization lessens in case of actual nasal sounds. Adyantalopa. The undue deletion of sounds connected with the semi-vowels is also regarded as a fault pronunciation. For example, Nishadya is pronounced as Nishaya or Nishaya. In Indravayoho is pronounced when it is pronounced as Indravayoho or Indravayoho, then this is faulty one. Asadvyanjana. A consonant is inserted when it is not at all desired. For example, asman being pronounced as asman. Sometimes a cluster is split unnecessarily by inserting a vowel. Vishnu is wrongly pronounced as Vishnu. Virag, deletion of a consonant creates this fault. Instead of shad dwa dwa, some habitually pronounce it deleting one d. Thus, the pronunciation is shad dwa dwa, deleting one d. Leisure. The light pronunciation of a consonant results into this fault. The fault is exactly opposite to one which is called pidana, where undue pressure is exerted. Anunada. This fault is likely to occur in pronunciation of the cluster at the initial position beginning with the aspirate and non-aspirate voiced as well as with the sibilants. For example, Vayami is pronounced as Vayami. An additional sound identical to the initial one is uttered. The commentator of Rigveda Pratishakhya refers to an opinion of some scholars according to whom this faulty pronunciation due to this additional sound is called dharana. Another, in this type of faulty pronunciation, the initial aspirate is slipped. Vayami is pronounced as Vayami. So when her goes, first her goes. Lomashya or Shvedana. Lomashya and Shvedana. Particularly, the sibilants are victimized to this type of faulty pronunciation. Lomashya means roughness of the pronunciation and Shvedana means pronouncing with undue hissing. Undue hissing. Then Rigveda Pratishakhya goes on observing how the particular letters get affected by particular type of mispronunciation. For example, mispronunciation of R due to the too much contact of tongue with the hard palate and undue harshness. For example, R, contact and removal, contact and removal. But if it gets repeated unduly, then this type of mispronunciation occurs and naturally harshness comes into that. That of low, unnecessary contact of both edges of the tongue with the gum of the upper teeth. That of ho, over exhalation of breath. Faulty pronunciation of Visarga. Rigveda Pratishakhya has specially dealt with this point. Rigveda Pratishakhya's observation about the faulty pronunciation of Visarga are very important. There is a lot of confusion in pronunciation of Visarga. Rigveda Pratishakhya 14.30 says that when the pronunciation of the Visarga gets tinged with the previous vowel, it is regarded as an incorrect pronunciation. For example, Rathihi, Vadhuhu, Aknehe. The Visarga here is audible as he, who, and he, which in fact is wrong. But we Maharashtrians, we pronounce it like that. Rathihi, Vadhuhu. There is one Shiksha who has, I forgot the name of that Shiksha, that has clearly mentioned that Visarga should not be ha, he, who, etc. Devaha, Devaihi, it like that. Uvata has given a long discussion whether this practice is correct or not, and finally arrived at the conclusion that such pronunciation need not be regarded as faulty in other schools. The nearest type of pronunciation or undue nasalized pronunciation of Visarga when it comes after a is also regarded as incorrect one. The a and ru. The pronunciation of Visarga when there is none is also regarded as the fault in Visarga pronunciation. Normally, this situation occurs when a vowel is followed by a cluster having sibilant at the beginning. it is wrong to pronounce abhishyam, abhi, visarga and shyama for abhishyama. One visarga is inserted. For example, in Maharashtra, you will find many people speaking Ghanashyama, visarga after Ghana, when it is Ghanashyama. Rigveda Pratishakhya enumerates 8 words from Rigveda Samhita in which visarga is wrongly pronounced. For example, Shunashepa is pronounced as Shunahashepa, visarga after na. The visarga pronunciation in these examples seem to be a situational possibility. The cluster having a sibilant at the initial position causes a stress on the previous vowel. The abhinidana of the initial sibilant of the cluster is likely to bring an impression of a visarga pronunciation which is not at all desired. Then mispronunciation of anuswar. The pronunciation of anuswar in Sanskrit is itself very problematic, and most of the times it's confused with the anunasika. The places where this type of confusion is likely to take place are as follows. Sparshoshma Sandhi, then Sparsharekha Sandhi, and Vivrutyavi Praya. A point to be noticed in all these cases is that a previous vowel of this sandhi is nasalized due to sandhi. This nasalized vowel should be pronounced distinctly instead of anuswar is pronounced. Then it is incorrect pronunciation. For example, town state. This is the sandhi of tan and te. This because of the sandhi, the previous vowel becomes anunasika, but instead of that anunasika, ta, anuswar and ste, ta is pronounced. It is wrong according to Rigveda Pratishakhya. Mispronunciation of r. The tendency of pronouncing r as u is regarded as wrong pronunciation. Rigveda Pratishakhya has noticed this tendency, quoting the examples matruhu, pitruhu. These words are wrongly pronounced as matruhu, like shatruhu, and pitrun, etc. It is wrong to pronounce these retroflex vowels as the labial ones because ru is retroflex and u is labial one. And that is what Rigveda Pratishakhya implies. Rigveda Pratishakhya has observed a tendency of confusing pronunciation of ru and lu with e. For example, Chandra Nirunika and Sushilpe are mispronounced as Chandra Nir and Su Shi with Lu as vowel. Exactly opposite tendency is found in converting R into E. For example, R into E. For example, Shrunga is mispronounced as Shingo. Mispronunciation of T and Th. There is a tendency of pronouncing so for T and Th in certain cases, which is wrong. Rigveda Pratishakhya has enumerated few cases where this type of tendency is clearly observed. Tendency of deletion or insertion of a vowel, short vowel in some cases. Pronouncing Purushantim as Purushantim or pronouncing Aryama as Aryama is wrong accordingly. This occurs in particular situation when a short vowel is preceded by a ref and followed by a sibilant. The tendency is found to delete it, which is wrong. Another tendency is found to split a cluster which is formed with r and a sibilant or with r and a semivowel. Such cluster is split by inserting a short vowel in it. The Rigveda Pratishakya 14.49 enumerated few examples to illustrate how a cluster with r at the beginning is split by inserting a in it. For example, Urjam is wrongly pronounced as Urajam. Urajam means pronunciation of I, one sound, diphthong I. The letters I and Y are also subject to mispronunciation. For example, Ayehe is wrongly pronounced as Ayehe, Y and Y, where initial I is reduced to A and one more Y is inserted. Exactly opposite tendency is found when words such as Rudayaya or Rudayayo or Raya are mispronounced as Rudaya and Raya, where a semi-vowel of a cluster is dropped and preceding O turns into I. This type of tendency results into reducing a number of syllables in a given word. That says Rigveda Pratishakya 14.41 and 43. The tendency of I converting into a yi results into increase of syllables of the original word. For example, abhishma is wrongly pronounced as abhayishma. Mispronunciation in the context of y. Rigveda Pratishakya quotes some examples where the palatal sibilant sh is subject to mispronunciation. In particular situation, Shunashepa is wrongly pronounced as Shunashyepa. Jaishtya, this is the wrong pronunciation for Jaishtya. Dropping of ya or wo or doubling of it is one more tendency observed by Rigveda Pratishakya. For example, swasta ye is wrongly pronounced as swasta e or swasta ye. Some other observations of mispronunciation. Undue insertion of sound, either homogeneous or different, dropping of one or changing one into another, non-nasal into nasal or non-aspirate into aspirate, etc. Doubling the sound unnecessarily are some more instances of wrong pronunciation which Rigveda Pratishakya has enumerated and discussed with the purpose to avoid them. Pronunciation of a cluster is also subject to wrong pronunciation, which is described analytically. After discussing the instances of wrong pronunciation, the Rigveda Pratishakya rightly says that enumerating all the instances of wrong pronunciation is hardly possible. Uvat, while commenting on this verse, explains that wrong pronunciation is caused by speakers of various nature, of characters, of various habits, and various behavior. These are the factors which affect and further shape their articulation. Laying norms is comparatively easy, but what sort of speaker will go away from which norm and that to what extent is simply unpredictable. The merit of Rigveda Pratishakya is, I would like to shed light on this. The bad pronunciation of Vedic mantras causes harm is the belief deeply rooted in the tradition. However, the guidelines required to provide such bad pronunciation are provided by Rigveda Pratishakya in detail, emphasizing the issue. It had identified the situations where mispronunciation is likely to take place.
We are not able to
this
see
is it all right? Something happened in between. Okay. It had identified the situations where mispronunciation is likely to take place. The discussion provides a clue for knowing a direct direction of phonetic change in given word, which may help us in studying the words historically. One may remember the first adhyaya of Yaska's Nirukta, first and second adhyaya of Yaska's Nirukta. The wrong pronunciation indicated here is caused by indisciplined speech, not being alert and serious about pronunciation and individual speech habits. For example, making unnecessary movements of tongue, jaws, lips, etc. It is noticeable that none of these is caused by any sort of physical or mental disorder. It goes without saying that all these mispronunciations can easily be rectified. Panini Shiksha and Vyakaran Mahabhashya have also enumerated some wrong the faults. Panini Shiksha has enumerated faults in especially recitation, and Vyakaran Mahabhashya has enumerated faults in pronunciation of the varnas, Samruta, Kala, Dhamata, etc. Then I will skip this portion. Patanjali just says that all these are faulty pronunciation of the vowels. Instances of mispronunciation of consonants are other than these. After enumerating 12 faults, he says like that. Swara etaha swaradosha bhavanaha atonye vanjaradoshaha. Some of these mentioned above are faults of speech. For example, extra fast, extra low. These are the faults of speech and not one varna, rough or dry. Patanjali's point is that all these make difference in properties of the vowel. These qualities are not intended and never appreciated, therefore these are false. This article is very primary one. I just want to point out that the Vedas being Shabdarashi is taken so seriously that without any sort of intervention of grammar and semantics, only phonetics was given immense importance. We have treatises on phonetics, on phonology, as well as we have laboratories, recordings, digitization of sounds, etc. Still, pure pronunciation is myth. The Vedic scholars have tried their best to maintain pure pronunciation. In fact, the concept pure pronunciation itself has become outdated nowadays. What people speak should be accepted. This is what is the trend in today's. Once the meaning is communicated, it's all. But pure pronunciation is something else, and it was very much important, or it matters a lot for the Vedic tradition, because Veda is Shabda Rashi, and beyond that they are mantras. The Vedic scholars have tried their best to maintain pure pronunciation. First, by laying norms, giving them ethical value, philosophizing the speech, vak as tattva, and finally minutely discussing the instances of mispronunciation. Nowadays, we have workshops and training programs on speech and voice culture. The traditional discussion of Uchcharana doshas may provide one more aspect to be considered seriously. Thank you. I again thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you for your excellent and presentation, because it's such a technical subject and you have dealt it elaborately from Pratishakyas. I think the place also plays an important role, no? Because even in Tamil Nadu, Tamil is pronounced differently in different places of Tamil Nadu.
It was wonderful. Uvata has to be thanked by us also.
Thank you.
We Tamilians also pronounce Ramaha and Jagu like the Maharashtrians. So we are thankful to Uvata who gives us an excuse. That's very nice. Really, they have analyzed the pronunciations threadbare. From what you say, I could understand that they have done it very, very mathematical calculation is used there. From the point of the origin of the letters pronunciation and from the way it is pronounced, from the various forms of the mouth forming various words,
Yes.
really wonderful. Nasalized, closed teeth, stiff jaw, loose pronunciation, light pronunciation of a consonant, pronunciation
Yes,
of the
yes.
accents. Wonderful.
Yes.
It was really wonderful. They have
Uh-huh.
really thought of. I really wonder how well they should have developed the language system and
Yes.
phonetics.
Yes. Sir.
No, they were very, very
Yes.
particular. It is really mind-boggling how they concentrated on this. And now,
Yes.
compared to that purity of pronunciation, now I think we have really come away. As you say, the modern pronunciation is entirely different, but they have limited it to Vedic pronunciation, right? They are
Of
not.
course.
They are not talking about the Bhasha as such.
No,
When
no.
it comes to Bhasha, even Shatrugna becomes Shatrughan, and Karna
Yes.
becomes Karan, and Shiromani becomes Shiroman, Simran. So many changes. Each language has got a speciality. People of each region have a different way of pronouncing things.
Yes.
It's really a
Yes.
wonderful
Yes.
study. And these rules will have to be fixed with Vedic pronunciation. I think they have
Yes.
maintained it so well that we are able to get the proper text of
Yes.
Vedas even today through the mouth.
Wow.
The written is not very important. It is the pronunciation, that is the mouth is more important because we have to fix the pronunciation properly. That is really
Correct.
wonderful,
Yes.
madam. We had a real eye opener. We have never touched this subject,
Oral
thinking that it
retention.
is beyond us. But it is simple, very simple, because we speak, we articulate, we express our ideas. So pronunciation is part of us. So we understand what it is. And it is really wonderful how they thought in those days, how strictly they followed this pronunciation so that they have a very good effect on the person who is uttering and on the person who are hearing and overall environmental effect also. Really interesting. Dr. K. Srinivasan, are you there? Dr. K. Srinivasan?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any comments?
No. This is beyond my.
Beyond you. Oh my God. I was thinking it is beyond me. Even beyond you is something good. So thank you, madam. Really interesting. We all enjoyed
Thank
it
you
very
very much, madam. Wonderful lecture.